Oh my god.
Why would you say
Hold
you're
on,
creepy?
I didn't unmute you yet, John. I have to wait for the thing to fade out. Okay, do your bit.
I was trying to do the. Well, hey guys, welcome to Greetings from U.S.A. We have a special guest today.
Ooh, look! You're really stepping up today. You're doing everything.
John, well,
John
let's
is
start
smiling.
with the main cast. We got ourselves Mr. 3D Blastaholic over here.
Wait, what?
And then we got 3D Discoholic. And then we got 4D Christaholic, which is me. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Thank
and then
you.
we have 2D Beep Boop. This does not compute over here in the what corner are you in?
Lower left.
Bottom left corner. Lower left corner. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. But I wanted to give you a little test before we start this, mostly because I've heard around town that you like or know a bit about retro tech.
Whoa.
Is that right?
Yeah, a little bit.
I've had 5 items
From the McDonald's menu.
5 retro tech items ranging from the late 2010 or like early 2010s to back to the 90s. So I'm gonna show them on screen and see if you can figure out what they are. Now here's our first one. This was a tablet. Now it's an interesting looking tablet. It's
Do you really cover the logos and stuff?
Hey, I gotta make it hard. I gotta.
This is like I'm going to school.
Now it's got a kickstand. You might notice.
Right.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Might make it a little easier, but do you know what this tablet is?
It's a Microsoft Surface.
But do you know what generation it is?
Google Cardboard.
Well, so it looks like it's got a dark back, so it's probably not a Surface 3, because I have one of those, and mine has like a light, like silver back.
Wait, can you change it so we're reflecting the
So
screen?
that's probably like one of the Pro ones, maybe?
I will give you it. You got it as a Surface. This is the first Surface, the Surface RT.
Oh, you got one of those?
I got this thing for like dirt cheap. Things like I had this in college because my laptop had died, and this is before I got my desktop. So I basically used this for like a whole summer as my main computer.
And you suffered with that for a whole summer.
At the time it worked. It worked pretty well. So I mean, could be worse. All right, second, I think you may have done a video or two about this little guy.
Oh yeah.
We go in, for the close, shot.
I love that tape. I can't get over that. I can't get over the logos.
We got a bank a thing for expansion card in the back. What do you think this guy is?
The Game Boy.
It's a handspring visor. I got one of those too.
Oh well,
God.
You know what?
The Game Boy Advance.
Is he right? It is a visor.
Show me handspring visor.
Okay, well that's 2 for 2.
I'm on the edge of my seat here.
Good shit. Okay.
Name.
Next up.
We asked 100 women what this next one was.
We have a cellular device. Now this is an interesting one. It may look like a touchscreen, but it's not a touchscreen. It has a very interesting feature where the keyboard flips up. What is this cellular device?
Oh, is that the Sidekick or whatever? It was the T-Mobile thing, right?
That would be my guess.
I never had one of those, but I remember seeing like an older looking one of something like that.
I can't get the sticker off.
Now you'll never.
Sidekick. So we're 3 for 3.
This is awesome.
Okay,
we should do game shows every episode.
You might recognize it from a popular YouTuber's thumbnail for one of his videos. It's a pair of glasses that have a pair of screens in them. What could this be?
The Sony Glasstron.
Is he right?
Is that really a product?
It's the
yes,
Quest 3.
It is. Well, you can kind of see
the
it.
Fuck?
It is a Glasstron. It's a Glasstron.
Okay. Wizard of Holiness guessed that was the Samsung Grundle, which I think is very close.
Samsung Grundle.
That didn't come out until 2019.
2019. Now this is our final one. Now this one should be a cakewalk for you because I know you like these sort of things, right? The old computers.
They're called laptops.
Yeah, I mean, but now this one, let's give you a closer look. I want the maybe not the exact model, but like the first.
Now I want the password for this thing.
Yeah, I got to unlock it now.
You got to unlock it. So hang on a sec.
KitchenAid mixer.
I did not cover up the. Now, okay, it's got two battery packs. Wait a second. That's not the exact same one. You got a bigger screen on yours.
No, it's the same.
Is it?
Idiot.
Yeah. Same thing.
Well, I think the logo at the top is the same.
I just spoiled next week's video.
Ooh.
Oh shit!
Well, what's the name of that one then?
So it's a PowerBook 500 series. I can't tell you exactly what yours is without seeing the label on the top.
I got a 540, so it is a 500 series.
Yeah, it's a good. The 540 was the better one.
Yeah.
Hey,
yeah, I was gonna say that one. I was probably gonna say that.
You know what? I think he's earned the intro to the thing. So why do we go to that?
Say the magic word.
I forget what the magic word is. Funny. Internet. Greetings.
Greetings
from Internet U.S.A.
I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, I had this whole bit. Oh,
I ruined the bit.
I mean, it's this.
So
we had a recording of your theme song from your video, so we just gotta play that in there.
Let's be real. If I changed the theme song this week, it would have been the theme song for the next 3 weeks. Just like the iCarly bit.
Let's do it in post.
I can if you want me to.
Actually, no, let's not do it in post.
Okay, here's everyone. We need you to bail out of the stream. We're going to start the whole thing over again so that we don't.
All right, from the top.
You can do it again.
All right, John, put the tape back on the logos.
I already threw out the tape bits.
All right, John, what is this I'm holding?
Oh
no! All right, It's this rare piece of tech. It's got 2 screens.
It's fading out of existence.
Wait a second. It's got 2 screens.
Hey everyone, it's Colin. How's it going? This one's a telephone. I don't know if you've heard of it.
It's a telephono lens.
I've got a old Casio camera.
It's a Rubik's Cube.
Snap. Yeah. Oh yeah. It just flips all around. I'm weird. So bummed this thing it doesn't work. That's the only problem with it. I bought it because it came with a compact flash card, hoping there was some photos on it. No photos on it.
Photos on it. Well,
it's up to you to make some photos now.
Welcome to the goddamn show. Greetings from Internet USA. John already introduced us, so I won't dare overstep his incredible intro where he was like too far into that I'm 3D Blastaholic thing to bail. Up top, if John didn't have that prepared, I was going to bring up right at the beginning when we were talking about people on the show. I was like, this is not compute. He'd love to do this, and both of these guys were like, Woody, and I was like, what do you mean? Probably. Why not? And they're like, I don't know if he would want to be associated with us.
Even though he's at a lot of our streams.
I was like, I don't know.
Mean, Randy, you're kind of unsavory sometimes, you know.
But that's the charm.
Really?
Charm. That's the spice, the edge, or the
no way to put it.
So I guess there was no response to that. Why did you guys think that he wouldn't want to be on?
I just thought. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, you go.
Go ahead. No, you hang up first.
I insist.
All right. I thought he was too cool for us.
Yeah, I thought, to be completely honest, I thought we were a bit too edgy. Because I watch the videos every Friday. Well, technically, I watch them on Saturday, usually, Saturday mornings. Because Techbone puts out his video. I just do like a whole run of a bunch of YouTubers Saturday
mention
morning, so
other
wake
names.
up early, But yeah, no, I mean, his content's squeaky clean.
Yeah, no, the
I-
cinematography.
We didn't say anything bad yet.
Yet. But I mean, I don't even think you curse on there. I think there's some times where you bleep it out and you just like.
No, I followed the George Carlin rules. I have cursed. I have
Whoa.
bleeped out some words. I don't know. I part of it is I have a really hard time being funny,
So does
like
John.
on cue
Oh.
or to script. Yeah, or at all. So trying to create a video where I'm intentionally funny in it, it wouldn't work. It would look like I was trying too hard because I would be trying too hard. Like hanging out with people, yeah, it's a lot easier. So I think kind of following along with that, it just makes it easier for me to just kind of stay to the point, I guess, with videos. But yeah, there have been a few unintentional funny moments. There was one episode where I went through this whole cinematic sequence set to music. I didn't talk, but it was me trying to fix this old computer. And the premise of it was, I think I know what's wrong with this. I'm going to go through all this technical work to get it going. And so I go through this big cinematic sequence and the music is timed to the edit and all this kind of stuff. And at the end of it, the music fades out and I flip the switch on for the computer and it doesn't work. And I give it a beat and I swear to God, this was just my natural reaction. I wasn't planning on using the audio. So I flip the switch on, the computer doesn't work. I wait a beat and then I go, well, shit. And I figured I wasn't going to leave it in the edit, but it just worked out perfect. And it just kind of blindsided some people. And they just said that was like the funniest thing I had ever did, even though I totally didn't.
Is anybody, everyone was like, that's too far. I've been showing this channel to my kids. And,
Yeah,
I mean, my kids watch
Yeah,
this
exactly.
show. I mean,
That's so funny that you mentioned in order to start this show, everyone knows I wiped my hard drive on accident, trying to upgrade, but that was how I felt. All this shit, everything, blah, 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 moved it back upstairs because I was like, you know what, fuck it, I have faith in this. I have faith that I built this right. Turned it on, just nothing. And then that's probably the worst feeling in the world.
shit.
I went, well,
and the thing that
shit.
made me feel even more stupid was later on, I revisited after I had stopped being pissed at it. Right. And I had done all this like really intricate, like surface level repair on this motherboard and all this kind of stuff. I thought it was a super, difficult kind of thing to solve. And later on, like after doing even more involved troubleshooting with this computer, and it was from like the late 80s, I finally tried the one thing that I hadn't tried and put different RAM in it. And that's what fixed it. It's like I'm like buying all these random parts and going through the original schematics for the computer, trying to figure out what was wrong. And I finally got my hands on some replacement RAM and put it in there. Just like, there's no way that this could work, but I'm going to try it anyway because it's the only thing I haven't tried yet. Flip the switch and work.
That's the thing with like troubleshooting all this stuff is that there's so many parts, and if something doesn't work, you have to try literally everything. That was such a nightmare. Troubleshooting all that until I found out it was like literally the motherboard where the processor sits was bent and it was just not slotted in correctly. But I was trying everything. I took out every single cord. Did the RAM thing too. I was up till 1 a.m. just like sitting there like.
Yeah, I remember when you were going through all that. That was no fun.
Not.
That's why I use a MacBook.
Man, that's why
Whatever
you buy
tech.
a pre-built.
Today we're talking about tech honors. Why I collect so much tech honors cassettes. I miss old
was
tech.
it Tech who had the laptop problem at Econ and smashed it on stage?
Vapor.
Vapor.
Oh, that was
yeah.
Vapor. That's right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he hates laptops.
Hey, we had that already. Not even 10 minutes in, we're already talking about Econ.
Electronic. Oh, we should have a tally.
Speaking also,
that's right. That happens in every episode.
it was the newest Mason episode. We didn't talk about it, right? The last, I guess the Cyan Blue probably didn't either. But speaking of which, before we get too far into stuff, John, you played a live show as father this last week, right? Too.
I did. I mean, it was an interesting show.
Did anyone
handful
show
of people
up?
showed up. I think we had like 7 people show up. I mean, I hate to say it. I have pull online that does not translate to the real world.
That is
especially
always.
especially in my area. I mean, it's a hard rock scene, in Pittsburgh. It is not vaporwave, ambient shit like that. It's almost non-existent over here. Or if it exists, I have no idea where it is, and neither do the people running the show. So
I did think it was funny when you were like, yeah, the address for the event is just like DM me and get the secret.
Yeah,
And I was like
a house party.
well, they already don't want people to show up.
yeah, I mean,
I've been to one of those before, and I'm just like, why? I mean, like, why keep this hidden? Like, no, like, it's already niche.
I think it's to do with like cops or like, I mean,
yeah,
this
music's too loud.
It's clearly run by like artist types, So it's you're gonna have like a bunch of people who's like, oh, we don't wanna, get called on by some Karen, who doesn't like, the sort of ambient sounds coming out of the building, who knows? I mean,
this building.
Karen doesn't like the ambient sounds coming out of the building, but they're fine with the metal.
They're loud ambient sounds.
Whoa, whoa, whoa! I mean, how far is Pittsburgh from Philly?
It's like 7 hours, 6 hours.
Yeah, they're like on the opposite
other side of the state.
Oh wow,
that's a big state, John. It's a big state you got there.
It's a big state you got there.
You
feed it well, huh?
Bummer, something bad happened to it.
Yeah, that's a nice state you got there. It's weird if
I mean, I was gonna make a political joke, but I can't remember what the mayor's name is or governor's name is.
Sal.
Tom Wolf, maybe. I think it's
Tom Wolf sounds fake.
Who cares? But yeah, I mean, it was fun. Some.
Did you sit
down? Funny. Of course, I sat down. Bro, I'm not fucking staring up at my laptop, dude. I was pressing a couple buttons here and there, man. What do you think I was fucking doing?
Mm.
But I think the funniest thing about the whole show was this little Asian girl.
I know her.
What she bought a tape. She's like, "Are you Chris?" And it's like also the music's going real loud, and I'm like, "Yeah!" And I think it's like she's like, "Oh, I want to buy this one," and then it's like, "Okay." Then she sits down for the entirety of the show, and she brought her like knitting sticks, and she's literally knitting something during the whole show. It was great. I mean, like I really wanted to like record a TikTok and like just zoom in. It's like just like doing this.
One of those moments you wish you were straight.
It was way too dark. No, absolutely. I mean, I hate to say it, the types going to these shows are not necessarily the lookers anyways. So, I mean, hey, I was there. So, I mean, that's saying something,
Yeah.
But, like, it's a sort of ambient type music that's like, yeah, that's for a certain type of person.
What did she knit?
Oh, I have no idea. I like
today we're talking about collecting knitting stuff.
Maybe she was knitting like a nice scarf for you to wear during the set.
And were you cold?
No, I was actually pretty hot there.
Yeah, you were.
Maybe she was knitting you an AC unit. I don't know.
Anyways,
anyways, enough about me and my little
girlfriend.
Show.
Let's get to the main topic. Randy, what's up with you?
Yeah, when last show I played, a bunch of hot girls walked up to me and they had a whole fucking sewing machine, and they made me a blanket.
The fucking sweatshop in the back of the venue.
I don't think it was I don't think it went to the right venue. I think just we're like playing at a local sweatshop.
We're playing at an abandoned factory. Mm-hmm. Oh wait, it's not abandoned. No, it's very functional.
How I get my merch for cheap. Anyways,
Colin, let's get back to you because I feel like we're talking a little bit too much about. I feel like you're being neglected over here in the corner.
That's
just
right.
like.
I'm enjoying myself. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad. Tech stuff.
Old tech. What do you guys collected?
Speaking of old tech, I saw today you posted a new video, and I started watching some of it before the show, but then you showed up in the stream room, and I'm like, oh, I should probably stop this and hop in here.
So watch together.
Oh.
Maybe we could do that. Maybe we could do that later.
Director's commentary.
I got like 2 minutes in, and it was talking about a old ThinkPad.
Mm-hmm.
Where now? I got a question. Where do you find most of these tech products? Are you an eBay guy? But I have seen videos of you going to Free Geek.
Yeah, it's kind of like everywhere, right? Like I've got some friends locally who are also retro collectors. So, we all change our interests over time, right? Sometimes we want to focus on something, and that means some other stuff that we don't really care about anymore needs to go. So it kind of ends up being this big trading thing, where, I'll learn about a thing and I'll ask around, hey, have you ever heard of this thing? And they'll be like, oh yeah, I've got one. Do you want it? And sure, and I'll give them $10 for it or whatever and do a video about it. And then they ask about something that I have, and yeah, I've never used that in forever. Here, you can have it, kind of a thing. Yeah, Free Geek Twin Cities is another great source. They're a local nonprofit. They do like recycling for electronic stuff. They take basically anything but appliances, more or less.
I don't like them.
They'll right.
Who needs them?
Yeah, so you can't dump off piles and piles of refrigerators there, but
I
they'll
love refrigerators.
take most everything else. I mean, if a computer is newer, they'll actually try to fix it up and sell it in their thrift store. The whole idea is to try and get computers back out into the community that still have some life left in them. And especially, after the last couple of years, with kids needing to do online learning and people working from home and all that kind of stuff. And the neighborhood that they're located in is somewhat low income. So I think that's kind of their main focus. The other thing, though, that's been getting really popular with them is the retro stuff. So they'll have people just drop off, they cleaned out their garage or their basement or whatever. I've got this big box of stuff. I don't know what it is anymore. And it'll have like an NES in it and some computer from the 90s and, a whole bunch of Pokemon games or whatever. And they'll just drop it off. And that's become another kind of big focus of theirs, is trying to get that stuff back out to the people who want to collect it and experience it. So sometimes some interesting stuff comes in that way, and I'll pick it up. I will occasionally jump on eBay if I need to. Like if there's something that I learn about that's just not a thing I'm ever going to find locally within a reasonable amount of time, then yeah, eBay if I have to. Otherwise, Yahoo Auctions Japan has become kind of a thing with me a lot lately, because I mean, obviously I listen to Vaporwave and Future Funk, so there's at least some passing interest in Japanese stuff, and I found only some of the really cool stuff made by Japanese companies made it to like North America. They kept a lot of really cool stuff to themselves that just wasn't really commercially viable, but it's just fascinating to play around with and learn about. So there's just no way I'd ever find that here locally, so I have to, import it. But that's not too often, because that gets really expensive. I mean, sometimes shipping is as much as the item itself.
Well, speaking of that, what is the most expensive thing that you had bought that didn't work?
That didn't work?
That like you had to go and fix it, or you just had to.
That I needed to restore. It was actually, so like you had that PowerBook 500 that you showed in the quiz. So there were 4 like main models of that series, of the 500 series, the 520 and the 540, and they each had a black and white and a color version. But Japan had a model just to themselves called the 550, and it had a bigger screen and a better CPU, and it was that kind of two-tone gray color. It was all jet black. I wanted to get one of those because they didn't make very many of them to begin with, even just for sale in Japan. And there are very few people who have them in the US, and there was no really comprehensive content about that model on YouTube. So a couple of years ago, I decided I want to buy one of those, and obviously I'd have to import it. So they don't come up for sale very often, even on Yahoo Auctions. But I wait and I find one, and it looked to be in decent shape. The description said it wasn't working, but I figured, there's enough electronic components inside one of those that are the same as the other models in the series that I could probably cobble something together. So I buy it, and when you buy from Yahoo Auctions Japan, you usually need to use a proxy buyer unless you know someone in Japan who can ship it for you. So you go through a service and the seller ships to them and then they slap a label on it and ship it to you. Well, unfortunately, the company that was selling the laptop, they were just some random used goods store. They didn't specialize in electronics, so they didn't really know what they had or how to handle it. And the thing with computers from the 80s and 90s is the plastic on them is turning really brittle. So unless you package it super well, it's just not going to make it without getting damaged. And when I picked up the package, it had one thin layer of bubble wrap around it and one layer of, like they didn't even put it in a box. They wrapped one layer of bubble wrap around the laptop and then they like wrapped a layer of cardboard around that and just taped it all up. It was kind of weird.
Huh.
And it just got trashed in shipping. And I had paid probably, after shipping, I had probably paid something like $250 for that. And the problem is the parts on it that got broken in shipping were unique parts that I couldn't find from another model in the series. So I couldn't just go on eBay here and buy a cheap one, that was close enough and use its parts. So I basically had to buy another one of that model from Japan. So it was wait for another one to come up for auction, buy it, hope that it had the parts that I needed that weren't broken. So long story short, in the end, I probably ended up spending something like $450 for 2 machines plus shipping. And then I was able to put the 2 together and get one working machine out of it in the end. And of course, get a video out of it. Now that said, that was a couple of years ago and I maybe broke even between what I paid for all that stuff and what I actually made off the video. So that's just
Do you think maybe the computer itself is now worth more than it was a couple years ago?
Maybe. I mean, they've always sold for more in the US than in Japan used, just because people don't think that you can buy stuff straight from Japan like that. It would probably be worth, I don't know, $350.
Do you think
maybe?
you can somehow figure out a way to ship this via the blockchain and I'll pay you $1,000 for it?
Exactly.
And someone could probably pay me $2,000 for it, but I'll give you...
And we'll turn it into an NFT and then it'll be...
Yeah.
And then everyone can just right-click it and save it and have one for themselves.
Oh.
I mean, I can already right-click and save your video. Well, technically,
Right.
I don't even have to right-click it. I just press the button in the top corner that does the YouTube download video thing, and then bam, boom.
Yeah, I get my NFTs through YouTube to mp3.com.
Yep.
What was I going to
Way to
say?
do it.
If we all stop, he won't realize we're here. Go for it.
Let's go.
You know what?
What was I gonna say? He says. Goes completely silent.
I don't know what I was going to... I forgot what I was going to say.
Probably something about retro tech.
Okay. Randy, can you cut this part out, please?
No. So forgive me if I don't know the entire
Okay, everyone on the stream, we're going to stop and restart from the beginning.
Put the tape back on the quiz, John. Forgive me for not knowing every of the pure history, but like, were you into this stuff before the YouTube videos, or did you were like, I see a space for this kind of stuff, time to get into collecting?
It was so. I was into retro computers before I started to do YouTube, and I had started to get into retro gaming. And then I started watching some other YouTube channels about retro gaming and specifically Game Boys. And that's what actually got me into the whole modding scene. So there are a bunch of consoles that I never had as a kid that, as an adult and when prices were low, because for a while there, you could buy an original game for like $20, right? I mean, prices have gone up since then, but they were like around 2010 through 2014, 2015, they were just dirt cheap. So I started getting interested in like, what about all those game consoles that like I kind of wanted as a kid, but never got? And I started looking into them and I'm like, dude, this shit is cheap now. Why am I not buying this stuff up? Right. So I start I start buying some of that, and then I find YouTube channels about people doing mods, right? Because the screen on the original Game Boy, it sucks, right?
Yeah.
It's not backlit, it's blurry, it sucks. But then I learned that you can add a backlight to it. And it's actually not that expensive to do, and it's not hard, it's not easy, but if you pay attention, you can do it. And then that just kind of got me down the rabbit hole of, wow, there are some really cool things that people have been able to do with all these old consoles, like to make them better than they were originally. And then what got me into doing YouTube about it is I realized that there was a lot of content starting to show up on YouTube, but it wasn't necessarily comprehensive. A lot of the videos at the time were just showing off what the end results were, and not necessarily showing you exactly everything you had to do it, or not showing you some of the trickier steps because they were hard to film or whatever. So I figured, that kind of could be my niche, is to give you comprehensive instructions on how to do some of these mods. And some of the mod, selling companies in the, here in the US, and there's one in Canada as well, caught on to that content. And then they started kind of looping me in on, hey, we've got this new product coming out like in a month, and we'll send you one ahead of time if you want to do a video about it. And it just kind of kept going from there.
I got another question. Why not go with Colin Tech Tips? Why'd you go with This Is Not Compute?
Danger Will
Well,
Robinson.
the original plan was to actually not get into computer-based stuff on the channel. So I wanted originally just to focus on just stick with gaming. And I don't think I wanted to just stay with Game Boys, but I figured there's enough people talking about computers on the internet that I don't need to do that too. Right? I mean, if you think about like what's the most information about one topic that there is on the internet, it's computers. Right?
Yeah.
So why
Sure.
would I do another channel about computers when there's a billion channels already about computers? So the name is basically just, I'm not going to deal with computers. It doesn't compute.
Oh, look at
It's
that.
a play on words, but I wanted to focus on gaming. And then one thing that I found is that as these new console mods started to come out, it wasn't this constant stream. It wasn't like every 2 months we'll see this cool new thing. It was like a whole bunch of stuff showed up in one shot. And then you'd have a period of a couple of years before people would be ready to produce like the next generation of it or another new cool thing. Or maybe, people's focus had turned to a console that was a generation newer. And now we started to see mods for that, right? So I realized I kind of needed to expand. And if I only did gaming stuff, there would be periods of time where the videos would get kind of boring because I'd either be repeating something that I already done or doing filler videos, in one way or another. Not that I don't like watching people do thrifting videos. To come up with a comprehensive, like engaging thrifting video takes a lot of time. Like I'm sure you all watch LGR, or at least you've heard of
yeah.
them.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
And people like watching
I
his
love
thrifting.
the thrifting videos.
The thrifting videos. But he'll tell you each one of those episodes takes him months. It's not like he can go out in one day with a GoPro and hit up a bunch of thrift stores and have all the footage he needs to put an episode together. You're going to strike out more often than you're going to find something cool. So he's like constantly going to thrift stores, but maybe once every few trips will he find something worthy of including in an episode. So I kind of felt like, I don't really want to get stuck in a corner like that. I need to branch out. And so then I started looking at, okay, is there stuff about retro computers that I can talk about? Try and stay maybe not in the realm of newer stuff, but let's find an angle that not too many other people have been tackling. And it kind of started to grow from there. And of course, at this point, I'm doing more retro computing and retro audio video than I am gaming. And I think that's a lot of it's just because, I am computing.
Now you're
This does
computing. You ever
I'm
get jealous of the
computing with
name Look Mom No Computer? You ever think that should have been your name?
No, that is a good name.
It is.
I did find that there is some podcast out there called This Does Not Compute. And they actually started their podcast after my channel. So I'm wondering if they either Googled first and they didn't bother to Google first and figured, well, there's
Google
no one else who would have this name, or if they figured it doesn't really matter. And I don't really care. I mean, it's not even about computing. It's like something about law or something. It's completely unrelated. So it's like a bunch of lawyers talking or something. I don't know. I'm sure someone's going it, but whatever.
This is
Maybe
not
they're just
compute.
maybe they're just fans of Lost in Space.
They could be.
I wanted to share this fun fact, right? The PS3
Has no games.
no. No, that's a retro joke right there, bro.
Okay, Chad.
Somebody on Twitter was just talking about that a bunch. Never mind. Continue. Sorry.
The Super Nintendo is as old as the PS3. Wait, no, I'm fucking up the phrasing.
Disco, you just got your chance to talk, and you're
No, I got it. Shut up. The Super Nintendo came out in 1991, right? The Super Nintendo was 21 years old when the PS3 came out, right?
Okay.
Now the PS3 is 21 years old as well.
Is it really?
It's as old as the Super Nintendo was when the PS3 came out.
It's
The
not
PS3 is not 21 years old.
It was like
It is. It is.
When did the PS3 come out?
PS2?
I think you mean the PS2. PS2 is about that old.
Oh,
Disco,
fuck me. No. Okay.
Fucking gaslighting us over here.
No. Let me tell you a story.
The PS3 is 21 years old.
No. Okay. 1991, the Super Nintendo came out. 15 years later. 15 years, right? 15 years. The Super Nintendo is now as old as the PS3.
Okay, I get what you're saying.
Yes, it's just the math was wrong. I did not compute.
Where we are right now, the PS3 is
I'm
as
still
old.
not computing, but that's
Yeah, I don't get it either.
Okay, in 2021, the PS3 is just as old as the Super Nintendo.
As the Super Nintendo was when the PS3 came out. Okay,
Yes.
there we go.
Yes.
There we go.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
I was able to explain that.
Disco.
What would you consider the cutoff for retro?
Oh, that's okay. There you go. There's a question there.
Generally what's accepted is 20 years is kind of, although it's a gray area depending on what you're looking at, and obscurity also plays a factor. I feel like if something is more obscure, it doesn't have to be as old.
Yeah.
But in general, what kind of gets considered as retro is, like right around that 15 to 20 year mark. And then what becomes the best value is one generation newer than that. So if you want to start collecting for retro gaming at prices that are not crazy yet, like the PS3 is probably the best deal.
Yeah,
That's
I've been
true.
stocking up.
The PS4 still has some popularity. There's still games, right? Especially since no one can buy a PS5.
Oh,
but everyone's kind of forgotten about the PS3.
Yeah, especially after 21 years.
I don't know if I told you about the
21 years
PS3, but it's 21 years old.
It can drink,
now.
guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, it died in a car crash. Drunk driving, man.
The video game.
That's why it's got no games.
Yeah.
No games.
Doom, came out in 1993, right?
Mhm.
You did a video on Doom running on what was that, commercial?
Oh yeah, that thing that goes in the kitchen. The kitchen computer thing.
That video went around. That had an article or two. But did you know that Doom turned
21
this year?
Did it really?
Yeah.
No. Doom did not come out.
It did.
Okay.
Yes, do the math.
93. I am 28.
I
was born in 93.
Nobody asked how old you are.
Bro.
Are you considered? So how old do people need to be
and Doom
retro?
doesn't have any games.
Yeah.
How
we might as well be playing Randy Snatcher. I don't know.
Is that game ready yet?
It's
Randy Blaster 3D.
Nano is literally in the chat. Give us a big update. Randy Blaster 3D.
I know he's been working on it.
It's an update today.
I saw an update about it not too long ago.
Yeah, something about.
Yeah, no, he's working on the Steam version.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he's doing.
Oh, that's right.
We got together
Yeah.
a few weeks ago to work on it.
That's
do
right.
some
Yeah, I
stuff
still
for it.
can't believe that's going to go out on Steam. That's
It's
awesome.
gonna be insane. It is the.
That stream was so fun, dude.
There's
You have
gonna
no
be. We're
idea.
gonna do more because it's got to have Twitch integration.
Yeah.
And all that stuff. I can't wait. That's real retro. You know how old that game is?
Did it come out this year?
No, it came out 21 years ago.
21 years ago.
20 years
Oh
ago.
my god.
The
It's just
moves are
like
coming.
yesterday.
And when,
Yeah,
of
you
course,
know
when
that-
the game's done, we're having Nano on, and we're never gonna have him on before that. Because frankly, he's done nothing else worth talking about.
Hell yeah!
Okay. I feel like we talked a lot during like the pre-show, and then we just
We
got like, a
did.
lot of these questions out of the thing, and I mean, God.
Yeah, this episode sucks. Now I got a bunch more written down. Hey,
Oh, good, perfect. 'Cause I'm struggling over here. I mean, I'm trying to think of like what's interesting to talk about. I mean,
You powered through the cold open.
yeah, we're
I'd
just proud of you
say-
for that.
Yeah. Come here.
boys.
I can't believe you prepared a quiz. That was new.
Yeah.
That was news to me.
Like you had a game show.
And John, honestly, I wrote some of this stuff down because of your takes on it too. Because you are also an avid collector, right?
I'm quite an avid collector. I mean, okay.
I mean, John, I've seen like when you've tweeted some of the stuff that you've found. Like,
Crazy.
I think you get better stuff than I do. Like, I've seen some of the and especially when you
Uploader.
talk about like the prices, like you find a thing for $3, and I'm like, there's no way I'd find that for less than $1,000 here or whatever. You know, It's like,
$10.
yeah, it's like that. Like, are you kidding me?
Well, it was fucking gross. It was covered in like a layer of grime, and it was like
Love
this
that
thing was
artist.
like fuck. This thing was fucking. Oh, it's still stuck in there. I mean, like
Ugh.
it came with a copy of Tetris, which is great.
That's
but,
why you bought it. Jesus, that's the NES 2, right?
Oh, it's the NES top loader too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Problem is, it's only got a fucking RF.
No, isn't it? I
Fucking-
swear to God, isn't it called the
people
NES
mod
2?
those. People mod those to have composite out. Did it come with
Yeah.
the original dog bone controller?
No,
Oh,
bother. I know.
I remember seeing that in an AVGN video and think I was like, what is
Yeah.
wrong with his NES?
And then he got the Nintendo.
Yeah,
Yeah,
then I remember that.
Well, the
Damn.
thing is, like, what I was going to ask is, in your collection, what is your favorite item at the moment?
Oh, that was what
Because I know that
wrote down,
changes
too.
from time to time. Like, you know, you fall out of love with something, and you fall in love with something else. You know,
Let me add on to this question too, because I had something similar. What is the most sentimental item you own that you're like, man, I'm so happy I own that? And second one, what is the most actual valuable item you own?
Then let me add to that question while you're at it. How you doing?
How old
Okay.
is it?
Go on.
Can I drink?
Yes. Actually, the one that it's probably my favorite and most sentimental is my Mac Color Classic, which interestingly enough is from '93.
Okay,
You know, you think about like the original Macintosh, it was the little thing with the 9-inch black and white screen
CRT, yeah.
on it, the CRT. In '93, Apple came out with a version that had a color screen in it. And it was a little 10-inch color screen. And it was interesting because at the time, like nobody cared. It looked really cool because it wasn't so boxy or anything anymore. Like they had started to get into kind of 90s styling. So it had some curves and, you know, it looked not just like this big square thing anymore. But by that point, people wanted bigger monitors. They wanted faster. They wanted CD-ROM drives and all that kind of stuff. So Apple came out with this machine and like it just fell flat. Nobody wanted it. So it kind of turned into a collector's item because they ended up just not making very many of them. But I just think the thing is really cool. And especially since it's so small and has the color screen and just the design, I ended up buying one back in, it was either 99 or 2000, off of a local company that did like Mac parts recycling. So it wasn't really around the time when we had this thing called retro computing. Because retro computing didn't really become a thing until about 10 years ago, I'd like to
Right.
say. I mean, some people were interested in it, but it didn't have the momentum that it does now.
Right back then.
But in
retro
the
computing was
90s,
punch
a lot of
cards.
all that stuff, I mean, in the 90s, after like 3-4 years, a computer was junk, right? Because the technology was progressing just so quickly. Nobody ever thought any of that stuff would be retro, but there were a few companies around that would collect that kind of stuff because maybe some of them had usable parts, or they would just throw them in a warehouse and stockpile them because they didn't know what else to do with them. So I ended up buying one for like $100. And I've kept it ever since. So, I mean, so the thing is how old it is. And I've had it for 21 years.
You did a video on it in
Everybody-
2017.
Everybody take a drink. If
I
you're playing the
did. I
21
have done a video about it. Yep, the 21 drinking game.
Yep.
If you look,
But
up
I'm never
that
going to get
color-
rid of it. And those things are probably worth $300 now. I mean, they haven't gone up a ton, but
Huge.
I have no idea what my most valuable retro thing is.
Fair. I mean, fair
I don't
enough.
have anything that's super rare because if it was worth a lot of money now, it would have cost me a lot of money to buy.
Mm.
So
There's no like stock market type, because none of this stuff is
it doesn't.
gaining
no.
value. Not really.
I mean, it's gaining value, but it's not skyrocketing in value.
Okay.
It's not like
your
something you
Pokemon
bought for.
cards, you know.
Yeah, it's not like something you bought 5 years ago for $100 is suddenly worth 10,000. I mean, it's like something you bought for $100 is maybe worth 200, 300, depending on if it has interest.
Can't remember what YouTuber it was. I think it might be an 8-bit guy. He had an Apple Lisa and he sold it because the thing is like it's huge. Like, where's he gonna put it? You know, moving forward, and he like sold it like in the late '90s or early 2000s or something because he just wanted to get rid of it. And you know now it's a very expensive computer because it's like the first.
Oh, I mean, and there's so much stuff like that I'm kind of kicking myself over because my job in high school was at a computer store, and it was just a mom and pop joint, and they sold not just new machines but also used ones. So we would take in used computers. If someone wanted to upgrade or whatever, we'd give them $100, $200 for their old computer as credit towards a new one, that sort of thing. And then we fix up the old one and sell it for $300 or something like that. And I remember we had only been open for a few months, but some guy pulled up around back with his clapped out pickup truck, and the bed was full of Mac Plus computers. There were probably 30 of them in there. And he's like, would you buy these? And we're all looking at him like, no, dude, that's way too old. Like no one would want to buy something like that because those came out in, late 80s.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I don't need them. Do you just want them? So we're like, sure. Okay. Right. So we took them out of his truck and set them up on the shelves in the back because we didn't know what to do with them. And eventually like the owners just got tired of seeing them because we couldn't sell them. So I think they ended up recycling them or something. But now I'm sitting there just kicking myself going, boy, if I knew then what I know now, a Mac Plus in good condition sells for a couple $100 times 30 of them.
Yeah.
I mean, but
You
that
know
means
what
you
I
have
mean?
to hold
Like-
them for 30, for like all 30 of them for like that long.
True.
I think that's the problem really, and it's sort of the problem like I have sometimes. Like I have a ton of stuff, but I only have so much space in my little apartment. And
That was something I had written down about where you guys store all this stuff.
yeah. I mean, I don't have a storage unit,
Everywhere.
but I probably shouldn't get one so that I should stop.
Don't. Honestly, don't. I finally broke down and got one not too long ago. And it messes with you because like you open the thing and you look in there and at first like you don't have much in there. So you're like, oh, look at all the space I have. So then you kind of like, okay, yeah, I got some, that one thing that I didn't get before because it was big and I didn't have enough space for it. Well, I kind of got space for it now. So I'll go get that thing. It's like, I used to have this rule where I wouldn't collect CRT monitors because they take up too much space.
Yeah.
Right. So I'd get maybe the computer that went with the CRT, but I would just use an LCD monitor on it. Fine. I don't care. Well, no, I've got a storage unit. I've got 3 CRT monitors in there.
Yeah, I'm looking at 2 right
So-
over here, and I still got one at my mom's house that I'm fixing to keep. I'm like, I like them. They're great. Love them.
What do you use them for?
Well, when I was doing the VHS stream, I used to use them as like
Yeah, that's
screen.
true. That was good.
Like, 'cause I have an old VCR TV combo I got for free. It's like a 12-inch. No, smaller than it's like 10-inch.
One of the little ones. Yeah, one of the little
Yeah,
ones.
it's got built-in VCR in the bottom. Works like a charm. It's beautiful. I also a couple years ago I bought a Sony Trinitron like display CRT for like that's
PVM?
yeah. And I got that for like $30 on eBay with like $20 shipping, so $50.
That's a good deal.
A couple of years ago, I mean, like I was like struggling to find one, that was like relatively cheap. But now, I mean, like it's probably worth a little bit more than that. But at the same time, I use that basically for all my VCR like stuff and all my VHS stuff. Just like glitching stuff because it's a really nice screen. It's like small, but it's like a 9-inch screen, but it's very crisp, very crisp.
In a
And
semi.
speaking of VHS, that was actually, I'm glad you brought that up. I've found it really interesting to actually maybe be on topic a little bit about how like vaporwave and its interests have really aligned with all the retro tech stuff too.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like it's almost kind of perfect, like how it all meshes up because you've got this genre of music based around certain decades. And vaporwave, when it first started, really was about 80s, and I feel like we've progressed kind of into
For
90s
sure.
kind of stuff now.
Mhm.
But at the same time, the technology interest that vaporwave has followed along with it. Right? At first, it was always cassettes,
Yeah.
and then we've expanded into vinyl. But now I'm seeing more and more mini disc releases, which is a very 90s thing.
Yeah.
And then I also find it interesting that we're getting into the VHS.
I'm wondering. I can't tell if it's like, are we progressing along a timeline, or are people just trying to find the weirdest thing to do? Like cassettes were like cheap, and then mini discs are like it's even weirder, and then VHS is like.
I think it's a timeline. Honestly, I think it's a
You think-
timeline.
Well,
Do you
I
think-
think I think
next
I'm-
we're gonna be making DVDs and then
Yeah.
and then
Oh yeah.
Blu-rays.
CDs are coming back.
Yep.
CDs. Are
Like I've been seeing
CDs,
more vapor artists doing CD releases, and people
Yeah.
are getting excited about them. And I completely believe DVDs will be a thing in a few years.
I would love CDs to come back, but the problem is the one place I used to get my CDs done. I used to be able to get like 100 like fully packaged CDs with like a booklet, sealed, for like $120. That place closed down. Like I think thanks to COVID. But I mean now I look at some of the CD prices for some of these places and like I mean U.S.A. I mean when you go from paying $120 for 100 CDs to like $400 for 100 CDs,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, no, I mean like I might stick with tapes to be completely honest.
I was thinking about that recently too, and I think I tweeted something about like how I wish tapes like a longer life, because I do feel like the vinyl craze definitely kind of took it over, where everyone wants to be on vinyl, and I was always like, when I got into the scene, tapes were always good because like it was almost like you were on a level playing field with everybody. That like it was like a $10 support the artist type thing. We all know you're not listening to this thing, more or less. Some people are. Same with vinyl, and it's like vinyl is such a more difficult run that you don't want to like,
Especially now.
especially right now,
Oh,
that you don't want to like
yeah.
put that. You don't want to put the effort for somebody who's like just starting or whatever. But back when it was just cassette, anyone could kind of come in and be like, well, I want to put this out on cassette, and kind of I want to see myself up in cassette along with everybody. And I kind of wish that was around more. You still see cassette.
I don't know.
But
I still see cassette as being kind of that default physical option.
I do too.
The way I've always perceived it is and you probably, well, I know you know better than I do, but I've always seen it as if you're gonna do a physical release, the default is cassette. And
Yeah.
then if you either are really confident in that release, or if it's a re-release of an album that did really well, that's when you then ratchet it up to doing a vinyl release or mini disc or, whatever else. So I don't necessarily think it has to be a one thing or another.
Sure.
I don't see too often where an artist is doing just a vinyl release and not a tape, at least within the vapor scene.
That's funny that we did vinyl first, and then a few months later did tapes after, which is funny.
Well, you just got to be different, Randy. But I mean,
I think it's
and I am glad you did that vinyl release because I love that thing.
That was a bucket
glad I
list
picked one
check
up.
for me.
Speaking
Yep.
speaking of which, I got a message from the guys who made it that they still have a ton of material left at the warehouse, and so I'm not saying there's gonna be a repress, but
Of Here to Stay?
I mean I either it's either gonna get destroyed or I have to pay $50 a year to hold it there. So if I can make like another 150 albums out of it, I don't know. I'm not saying that here. I'm not saying that's happening. But
He's saying it.
It's something I'm thinking about on my end.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it too on my end.
Okay.
Hey,
I'm thinking about
if you look up Mac Color Classic on Google Images, you'll see a familiar uploader.
Miami Virtual.
First row. Collins Video.
Oh,
Retro Trek
damn.
Macintosh Color Classic. I don't know if you knew. Remember video CDs?
Oh, hell yeah.
CDs were always weird. They were always so weird to me because you just never saw them.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
No, I saw my parents had one. It was like I think it was like a Paula Abdul like workout CD or whatever.
It's funny. I actually only like in the past couple years have seen them in the wild. Like I think I have like some old Clint Eastwood movie from the 90s.
I don't even think I know what a video CD is.
What do you play?
I've never seen like a US release video CD.
I think it's
own one, but it's a Japanese copy of like 2 episodes of Evangelion.
What is
like,
it?
They were big
on?
in Asia, but they just never.
What do you
made a dent here?
Okay, they can play on a DVD player and or, like most DVD players, and there were standalone video CD players like CDI was like if you had a certain card to put in it, it would allow you to play video CDs on it. Like
the full motion video thing. Yeah,
this is like before DVD. But like DVD just sort of like took over a lot because I mean, I was a lot more data on on the same mad disc.
The quality was a lot better too,
exactly,
and
that too.
From what I know of video CDs, a lot of times like movies had to get split across multiple discs.
Yep. I mean,
I
have a video CD player in my hi-fi setup. I got it from. I picked up 2 machines off. What was it? The from like Yahoo auctions. I can't remember. Buy, I think is what I use as a.
Oh, okay. That's what I use. Yeah, Buy.
But what I did was I bought a video CD player as my main CD player because it's got like a bunch of like cool like karaoke sort of like speed it up, tone it down, and like sort of like it's really cool when you work with CDs on it. And I also got my mini disc player, which is a half rack mini disc deck. I made the mistake. If you're starting a hi-fi setup, do not start with a silver machine because then you're stuck with silver. Because otherwise, you can't have that like all these like a one silver machine, then like a black machine, then a champagne machine. Dude.
Yeah, God help you if you get the champagne one, man.
Oh,
that
you're
ruins
fucked, dude.
Yeah.
What if I don't care about that stuff?
Bro, if you care enough to fucking buy
that's true.
If you care enough to fucking buy a hi-fi system, then you probably care enough that they all somewhat match. Because like that was the worst part. Like I got a great deal, like a Nakamichi tape deck player.
I know him.
Yeah, I mean he's great. I do need to actually change the belts in it. 'cause
Change his
it's
diapers.
Yeah. Hey,
Yeah.
Akamichi. No,
Not-
yeah, I'm busy.
I don't who's Akamichi.
I don't
was talking
know.
about
You tell me.
Nakamichi.
Oh, Nakamichi.
It's his
Nakami.
brother.
Archimedes? Sorry.
Akamichi. Oh, the bird. From
Continue the
fucking-
story. Let's-
Whatever. Who cares?
Doesn't matter.
Well, it's going into hi-fi stuff. I know, Colin. You've done quite a few videos on old AV equipment.
Yeah, I'm getting into that. I'm definitely
what's-
getting into that.
What's your stack look like?
Oh, so I've tried to all buy components from the same series from Sony because and it's not that bad. I still have one item to get, but I have a matching receiver and CD player that were actually my original ones from the early 90s. They were actually the very first stereo, like real stereo I ever had. It was like my grandparents and my parents got together, like they coordinated one Christmas, and none of this is expensive stuff. This was like the entry level stuff at the time. But my grandparents and my parents coordinated where my grandparents got me a set of speakers and my parents got me a receiver. And then 2 years later, I saved up a bunch of money and bought the matching CD player. And Sony had like they only changed kind of the style of the faceplates on their equipment every few years. So now I've got the matching tape deck that goes with it and the matching DAT deck, digital audio tape.
Yeah.
And I've done videos about both of those. I have a mini disc deck and it's a Sony deck, but it doesn't quite match because it's newer. It's from like the late 90s when I actually got into mini disc. But they had a matching mini disc deck that goes with the rest of those. So I've been kind of looking for one of those.
I remember.
But it's kind of neat because it's all got the same style, and it would have been like $1 billion back then, you know, if you had bought it all new because DAT was super expensive. But
Now, here's my question though. Is there an FM receiver in any of those?
the receiver does AM FM. It's actually kind of
okay.
yeah, because it's the receiver is the amplifier and the radio tuner, and then you can hook up. Oh, I'm trying to remember what inputs are on it. It's got inputs for video, like to hook your TV or your VCR in, CD, tape 1, tape 2, and phono for turntable. So I think with what I have, I actually don't have enough inputs.
I've actually done to. I currently don't have enough inputs too. I found I had to search for like the perfect like those like video box that you like press a button.
Oh, the switch boxes, yeah.
Yeah, I took me forever to find one that was silver. Because
God
of course
forbid
it has,
if it's
it has to match
champagne.
You
everything.
had to
you know?
buy into the silver.
I had to buy silver. It turned out I bought one of them, and it came in, and it was fucking beat, and half the inputs didn't work. I was so mad because it was like I spent like $20 on it.
Always go champagne.
Oh, yeah, always go. I'd kick him. I should have went black, man.
Always, yeah. Once you go silver,
Once you go silver, you never
go
look-
bilver.
silver. Yeah.
Colin, I'm curious as to how you kind of got into the vaporwave music scene. I mean, what music did you listen to before?
Why'd you do
I've
this to
always-
yourself?
Yeah, I know, right? I've always listened to a wide variety of music. And it's funny, I got into the vaporwave scene because I've always been a little bit interested in urban exploration. Not necessarily enough to do it myself because I don't really want to get arrested. But there are a
Tetanus
bunch
shots.
of other YouTube channels that I follow that do that kind of stuff. And
Dan Bell?
I stumbled on Dan Bell one day years ago, and he used a bunch of Dan Mason songs. And I'm
Ooh.
like, damn, this music is actually pretty good. So I looked up Dan Mason and I listened through, what was the first album of his that I listened through?
Miami Virtual, probably, or
It was either Miami Virtual or
remember.
maybe the
Gotcha.
Summertime EP.
yeah, that
I
was the
can't
other
quite
one,
remember.
Summertime.
And I'm like, yo, this is awesome. So it just kind of branched out from there. And I actually started on the future funk side of things and then kind of worked my way into more classic vapor. So I'm a little late to the scene, as it were.
No such
but
thing.
yeah, I mean that's the story of my life. But it's just kind of funny how you find things through different ways. It was, looking
Yeah.
at videos about exploring these dead malls that got me into just learning about this entire music genre, this whole scene that I had no idea was, and ended up being one of the most compelling things that I've found out about in the last probably 10 years.
Welcome.
So
Yeah,
Here-
Disco is our
Okay.
ambassador. Vaporwave, Disco.
What can
That's
I
a-
say? Remember my 2014 album? It turns 21 years old this year, so it's getting released
Right.
on vinyl. Go on.
Okay. Sort of a weird question. Do you remember what was like the moment that you were like, you're a tech guy?
Ooh.
tech guy, like how?
Like, okay, I remember as a kid, I
Oh, just in general, like in my life.
yeah, I mean, because the thing is, like, I'm trying. For me, I think it was when my dad pulled out his ThinkPad, and I was playing like some sort of like point and click adventure game. Like I think it was like one of the humongous games on it.
Among Us was out back then.
Humongous entertainment
Among
game.
Us is 21 years old, dude. Where have you been?
Hey,
Damn,
You
you know,
old jet.
looking pretty sus.
21
but
years
I
at
was-
Freddy's. Anyways,
But like I mean, like it was in that moment I was like, yeah, I kind of like this stuff. This stuff is really cool. Did you have a moment where like it just like clicked? It's just like
No, I don't think it ever really clicked. I just kind of slowly grew more into it. I mean, granted, it helped that I've had family members who have been really involved in tech in one way or another, either professionally or just as a hobby. Like we had a computer fairly early on when I was growing up. The first computer I ever used was an Apple IIc. And so I remember, just kind of like obviously when you're young and you start out using a computer, it's always for educational, right? So it was just playing number munchers and or. But then I started learning more about other kinds of technology. I started getting into music because I liked music, and then I got interested in the equipment to play music. So I started learning about stereos and all that kind of stuff, right? And my grandfather was what they call a theater consultant, where he had some architectural experience and skill, but it was all about doing the lighting and sound for theaters and performing arts venues. So like they were going to build a brand new theater or they were going to do a big remodel on a historic. They'd get a regular architect to come in and figure out, okay, where do you put the windows, doors and all that kind of stuff. But then they'd hire on the theater consultant to figure out, okay, where do you install all the lighting trusses? Where do you run all the cables for the audio? Where do you place the seats so that all the people in the audience can have a good view of the stage and all that kind of stuff? So I learned a lot about, the AV kind of stuff from my grandfather, and he was happy to see me get involved. So I'd get to, he didn't live in town. I'd have to visit. It's only once or, once every year or two, but he'd keep all of his industry trade magazines for me. So I could, and my parents hated it because we'd be loading up the back of the car to come home, with stacks of these magazines or whatever. But I loved reading through all of them and seeing how everything worked and that kind of stuff. And I wish I still had all of them, but
we're looking into
it's just the way
retro
it goes.
literature. There we go.
My dad had a
there's
subscription.
actually, that's a big thing now, actually, is the retro magazines.
Yeah,
Like
those
a
must
lot
be-
of them have gotten scanned and uploaded to like the Internet Archive, but there's a lot of stuff still missing. So every once in a while, people will find a big stash of, old, PC magazine issues or
But
something
the only thing
like
I can
that.
think of that I probably still have are like old EGMs, electronic gaming monthlies from like 2000
GMR.
something.
Gamer.
Yeah, gaming monthly review from EB Games. Before they had like 24, 25 issues. Best gaming magazine ever. It was like It was like that peak 2000s, like edgy, like gamer aesthetic. It was awful.
And
But
you didn't like,
I
and
mean,
you didn't like when we watched Pure Ownage.
no. Well, here's the difference. It's intelligible. Okay, that's all I'm saying.
My dad had a subscription to Maximum PC. And
My dad had a subscription to Maxim.
I remember reading through Maximum PC and I was like, damn, this shit is cool. Whoa, you can do these things with computers. You can play
Doom.
Among Us.
You can play Among Us on this.
I imagine just booting up an old like a Macintosh Color Classic and just playing Among Us, but it's like 8-bit, and it's just like
I think that's the meme right now. Is you can put like Doom on anything. A friend of mine just linked me someone running Doom on a pregnancy test. I just saw.
Yep.
But I think we should go the other way. We should try to get Among Us to play on the oldest stuff we can.
Yo, let's get Among Us on a fucking Pong console.
Who was? I forget what I was listening to or talking to somebody talking about. It must have been Mega 64. They were talking about when Tenet came out. Who directed that? Nolan?
Yeah, Nolan.
He was like being all, you have to go see it in theaters, peak pandemic. He was like, you have to. It's it's my movie, it's how it's meant to be seen. So some people were kind of in spite. Someone ported it down to like Game Boy Advance and was like posting pictures of him playing it on like an SP or like all these
like Game Boy video.
Yeah, like people were like downscaling it to try to see what
man.
the stupidest thing they could put it on.
I used to have as a kid like a Mattel juice box, which is one of those.
Oh my
came
god!
out-
I know exactly
And
what
you
you're
played
talking
Doom
about.
on it?
No, I remember watching Ed, and Eddie on that,
God.
and it's like watching stuff like that now on like a freaking 240p screen, like 15 frames per second. It's just like wow.
Okay, I actually found 2 of those sealed at a thrift store like last year.
Give them to me.
Well, I actually got rid of them because
What?
I opened up one of them and it quite literally is the first of all like the plastic is like that like
Yeah,
soft
no.
touch, it just turned to goo.
Yeah,
Awful.
Yeah.
Also, it is absolute. I'm sorry, like fucking Video Now is fucking better than fucking Juice Box.
God.
Yeah, no.
And that
You're so worked
I
up
have-
over this.
I have an extensive collection of Video Now discs and players.
a connoisseur.
I'm sorry I got rid of them. If I would have known, like if you would have went down memory lane, with a juice box, I would have sent it over. But
Juice box. I remember that was every time I booted up. Juice box.
the problem was like the one cartridge it came with was basically an empty cartridge, and it would just play a demo that was like built into the thing. So the cartridge was basically useless. It was.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it just tells the thing to switch to a different thing stored in memory or something.
Oh, I see what you mean. It
You
was
know what?
already all built in.
Sick.
Oh, John's going. Where's he going?
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we talked about this beforehand, but yeah, I've had some gut problems recently, and I think
Well, you
one
don't.
of them is
Okay,
a
you're
rise-
good. You didn't.
I gotta be transparent here,
Nope.
gotta make sure.
You don't
You
gotta
know-
be that transparent.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be back in a minute. You guys continue on.
No, let's all. No, bring the camera. John's just like, in my asshole. And
Make sure you mute the mic, would you?
Yeah, for real. I was gonna say something about like old tech. Like, is there anything that stuff does that it like is better that like they lost moving forward? Like, what is something like a nice, warm, cozy feeling about something that like that new stuff just doesn't do it anymore?
The big thing that I've found, at least working on retro tech, is it doesn't require the internet to work.
That's a huge thing.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like if I'm trying to get an old computer up and running again, as long as I can get the hardware working, I can go online, I can find a copy of the OS, I can run that sucker to a CD,
Yeah.
and I can get it working. None of this whole, oh crap, are the servers still up? Oh, how do I get this on the internet? Oh, is it safe for me to put it on the internet because it's 21 years old and they haven't done software patches anymore and any of that kind of stuff. Like that's the thing about the stuff from the 90s is like, working on one of these computers recently, I reinstalled the OS and it was like 5 floppy disks for the entire OS. And like you think about installing Windows on a computer now and it's like 8 gigs and it takes hours to do and it
Yeah.
reboots 1,000 times. And this old computer was 5 floppy disks. It's just
Easy. You're saying that's easier. The floppies.
it's easier and it's easier and it's more satisfying because you just know it's going to work. Like
Yeah.
you probably heard about the whole Sony wanted to shut off the game servers for like PS3 and Vita and PSP and all that kind of stuff. And then a lot of people were worried about with the PS3 the whole clock battery issue. You may have heard about that. Like if the clock battery in your PS3 goes dead, if you want to play any of your games, the PS3 has to phone home to Sony to check what the actual time is, like to synchronize the clock. Because otherwise, it's like an anti-cheating thing. Otherwise, right?
Yep.
So what a lot of people realized was that at some point in the future, Sony's going to turn those servers off. And if the clock battery in your PS3 dies, it's basically bricked.
Right.
Because it has to phone home to Sony to get the correct time. And people started freaking out about that. And thankfully, Sony relented and they actually put a software update
that just unlocks it or something.
Yeah, that basically unlocks it. Like, I'm trying to remember exactly what there was still something you couldn't do. Like it locked you out of trophies or something like that. If you had to do it that way. But at the same time, like 20 years from now, who cares?
Yeah. I'm a real gamer.
It's some of those kind of worries, right? Where
it's in the same vein. It's like getting an old, like back when games first started saving, like having like Pokemon Crystal, or Pokemon Red and Blue, that all of a sudden
the battery in the cartridge dies and you lose your save. Yeah,
especially because
I mean,
go ahead.
There's ways to work around that.
Yeah,
right? I mean, you can replace the battery, and we've got tools that you can dump your saves on and off the cartridge. But when it's tied to something out of your control, internet, that's the big worry, really. I think that's the biggest thing I like about the older tech is it's just self-contained.
I always fear that you see so many products shipped now that are broken on release. And I always
think day one releases are ridiculous.
Whether it's a game or I've honestly seen like hardware and stuff that's just like, oh, we'll push an update or we'll fix it, and it's like I constantly think about
features.
Yeah,
I see that with like features on stuff too. It's like they advertise, oh, this thing can do this thing, and then you get it, and they're like, oh yeah, we'll
what's coming?
A firmware update in like 6 months. It's
like didn't hit the deadline. Yeah.
When it comes to like me personally, DJ equipment does that too, where it's like it's a physical piece of hardware that I'm like physically bringing around, and then they're telling me in 2 years they're gonna add support for like waves or whatever, like wave, like stuff like that, where I'm like, but this thing I shouldn't have to like do some weird, hook it via my Ethernet into the computer so I can like update the firmware. It's always bizarre to me that like it requires internet to update hardware.
I never listen to like promised features like that. I prefer to buy things as they are now.
Yeah, that's always weird
to be. I was gonna ask, what retro games? No. I remember. You a fan of Age of Empires?
I have never gotten into Age of Empires.
Me neither. Next question.
What if I told you that age was 21?
No, Pacific Plaza in the chat was like, you a fan of Age of Empires? And so we have your answer.
Doom's
probably my biggest retro game. I still play that game regularly.
I know.
Yeah, okay. Doom is one of those ones that even though you know the map, you can just play it blindfolded. Somehow it's still entertaining.
Is there?
I remember years ago back in high school, we always had Macs in high school, except one year they decided to build a new computer lab, and it was all PCs. And I'd like to say they all had like Windows 98 or something like that. But they were really locked down. They had floppy drives, but they didn't have CD-ROM drives. There was no sound. and they locked down Windows so that you really couldn't do anything other than launch like Word or Excel or something like that. They didn't even have internet access. Like you couldn't launch Internet Explorer or anything. You couldn't go into my computer and dig through the hard drive or anything. But I remember somebody, and I don't remember who it was, but someone figured out that if you put a copy of Doom on a floppy disk and then did file open in Word on
Wow.
doom.exe, it would show up as a bunch of garbage on screen because Word would try to open Doom as if it was a Word doc. But if you closed it and then went to the like recently opened items menu in Word and picked it from there,
It would
it would
run.
launch the program.
Oh my
And so we'd
god.
be sitting there in typing class in the back row, like, oh yeah, teacher, totally learning how to type. And and then someone discovered that there was a toolbar in Word. It was either Word or Excel that was like the internet toolbar. And they found one little button in there that looked like a globe, and it turns out that launched Internet Explorer. And then we found that the computers actually were on the internet after. So then it was, if you're not playing Doom, you're screwing around on.
Man,
It was just finding all these little sneak ways to work around all the restrictions.
what
they
is it
put
about
in.
Doom that people is there something specifically about Doom itself that works on everything, or is that just kind of the meme?
Well,
So it's both, I think. I mean, at this point, it's definitely a meme. But if you think about the way Doom works, it's the engine, which is like doom.exe, and then you've actually got the map, which is that doom.wad file. So because the map isn't built into the engine, that means that if anyone wanted to try and make Doom work on another device, all they had to do was make the engine work. So like,
they
I
could
guess
downscale
programming
the
wise,
map.
it was less work, right? Because all you had to do was get the engine to run on the thing and then point to that map file, doom.wad, and then boom, you're done. It works.
right. And
So
the fact,
I think it's kind of go ahead.
and the fact that the engine isn't true 3D makes the requirements
Yeah.
tinier, so it can run on literally anything. When the 3D
Yeah, I
you see
mean-
isn't actual 3D.
Yeah,
What?
at this point, it's
Just like
definitely a
me.
meme or kind of a challenge thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're going to try and get a device to do something that it shouldn't do, or you know, like it's locked down and you want to show the manufacturer, no, I own this device. Yeah, you make it run Doom. It's just
I always loved
Okay.
the Mac strips and everything.
I had my sneaky workarounds in high school. So you can bring games to your computer using a flash drive or whatever, because it would block executables from running flash drive.
Mhm.
So my workaround was to download WinZip and put all the games on like a compressed archive, the flash drive, and just run it through there. Granted, it would take a lot longer to decompress everything, but
I mean, I remember playing Halo CE in fucking
yeah,
in college,
Yeah,
high
I'm
school.
trying to remember if that's who. I feel like somebody I knew talked about sharing Halo around.
yeah,
That-
Halo was a thing in high school too.
Wasn't very good at it, but
I remember early days internet, like when Twitch was still new. It wasn't blocked, and I remember being in our class having Twitch open and watching stuff, and some people, like some of my friends or people in my class, being like, "What is this? I didn't know you could do this online." And I was like, "What do you mean?" I don't know. It's just kind of weird. That's how early it was. It wasn't even blocked.
Yeah, my thing like that was with the graphing calculators, playing the games.
Oh, yeah.
on those.
Huge. A lot of my friends who are in the other classes, they have a whole like, what's that game? Box Kid.
Oh my god, I know what you're. Yeah, that's Sudoku. Oh wait, no, I know what you're talking
It's a
about.
platformer.
Puzzle something. I know.
don't
I
know.
played it,
Maybe if Samir's still here, you can tell me. But
dude. Yeah, I lost my graphing calculator in college, but when I had my TI-80 silver edition, and I had that jack, that freaking 2.5 millimeter jack that plugged in via USB, and I just sideloaded games onto it. I remember we were taking a test, and they allowed us to use our calculators, and everyone else around me was like bored when they finished their test early. I was sitting there. Why don't I play Doom?
the
Hell
only thing I got into that was like I modded my Wii and my DS. And so the DS specifically was like a game changer because like so I ran so much stuff on there. I had AIM on my DS. That was that was where I primary. Yeah, I would message. Like I literally just sit there tapping. Like that's how I would use it.
Speaking of modding, Colin,
Yes.
you brought up that modding Game Boys was what sort of got you into the sort of whole YouTube scene. What has been? Do you have either a favorite mod or a mod that like made you change your mind on like a piece of tech that like before was just like okay, but like after that mod it was like, yeah, this is usable now. This is how it should have been out of the
Essential.
factory. You know. It's
Oh
essential.
yeah, like like the screen mods for the Game Gear, I think
Oh,
are a big one. Because
Game
the
Gear.
Game Gear was, I mean,
An ass.
let's
I
be
had it
honest,
at
the
the
Game Gear
time.
was it was
It's-
kind of ahead of its time, but it was also kind of a piece of trash back
it
in
sucks.
when it
I'd
was
imagine
new.
it being
Like the
ghosty.
screen was
Did it have a
this-
rear
this-
projection display?
it was backlit, but it was really washed out and it was really blurry. Like it had a really bad refresh rate. And it ate batteries like crazy.
All of
Yeah, that's
Sega's
the biggest thing.
portable stuff at the time, like the Nomad, like disgusting. It was what
Yeah.
6 fucking
Yeah,
big
and
ass-
you'd get like
It was ambitious.
2 hours out of it or
yeah.
something
It only
like that.
yeah.
It was horrible. And so a few years ago, they came out with like a real modern LCD replacement for consoles like that, and it's just night and day. I mean, the battery life just goes through the roof, and you can actually see the games you're playing, which is super helpful. So it makes the console kind of like the way it should have been when it first came out, but the technology wasn't there yet type of a deal. I'd say screen mods are probably the biggest thing, at least for the handheld
Yeah.
consoles. And it's crazy where they've gone. Like the original Game Boy screen mods were just adding backlights to the existing LCD.
Well, didn't
So-
they sell a backlit Game Boy in Japan? The Game Boy Light.
Yeah, they had the Game Boy Light. That was a Japanese only thing.
Yeah.
But they never
like
did like
the-
it was basically a backlit Game Boy Pocket, but they never sold
Right.
that elsewhere.
Yeah.
And you never got an actual proper backlit Nintendo console until the SP. And even then, the first gen, the 001s, was a front lit. So it
Mm.
worked, but it was kind of washed out compared to the 101s, which was the real backlit. I mean, we're getting into the 2000s by then. So you think about how old the whole Game Boy line is for over 10 years without a real good screen, backlit screen in their lineup. And now all of those consoles, you can get a brand new, really nice backlit screen, super sharp. Like you can't even tell that it's been modded in there. Like the quality is just so good now. It's just unbelievable.
Like it's official.
What is your favorite Game Boy? Do you have a favorite one?
I'm going to say Game Boy Advance, just because that was actually the first Game Boy I ever owned. I remember as a kid, like, on the bus or whatever field trips, like classmates would bring their OG Game Boys with them, and I'd get a few minutes to play Tetris or Mario Land or whatever. But I never actually got a Game Boy until the Game Boy Advance came out.
Wow.
And that's when, the screen kind of sucked, but the quality of the games got a lot better, and the sound got a lot better, and they were all in.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Advance is actually insane. The step from I had a Pocket.
Yeah.
I had like a Pocket and a Color, and man, the Advance is like even playing Pocket like color games on an Advance. You're just like,
I mean, I think the form factor really was the thing that, like, I think the original Game Boy Advance, with all of its downsides with the screen, the form factor I think is the best the Game Boy's ever been. I think I have all of them. I even have a Game Boy Micro.
I've always wanted one, but I never got one.
Yeah, it is. There's not. Well, at least it's not
It's-
worth what they're
it's-
charging now.
No, the Micro,
No.
it's neat, but it's one of those you can only play it for like maybe 10 minutes, and then it's like, okay.
Your hands are cramped
Yeah.
up. Yeah,
That's
I
kind of
love
why
it.
It's the screen's so small.
I
And
think at the time I was in school and stuff, and so like that to me was like, ooh yeah. But now that like I don't even use my Switch portable, like I would not use it nowadays for its intended purpose.
yeah. I remember like I think in high school, a friend of mine had a Game Boy Micro, which you would just play in the back of the class. It was so small you could barely see. It was easy to just like slip down his
Exactly.
thing. It was sick.
The
And I'm
iPod
like,
Touch was like that was my like
dude.
Plants vs Zombies. Done. Entire.
I emulated a lot with my iPod Touch.
Same. Yeah.
So what was everybody's first iPod?
iPod Touch.
An iPod, the widescreen iPod Nano with video, like that first,
Oh,
like
the square one.
yeah, like the
The
black,
little,
yeah,
the little fat one. What do they
That
call
one,
it?
that was a cool. I think it's the best
fat
Nano
Nano.
out of all of them. To be completely honest,
But-
that's one that consistently still is alive. Whenever I find them at the thrift store,
yeah.
all the other ones like are dead just because of how the battery's shaped. I guess like or how small the battery is. That one's actually the only
Have you
one.
seen the ones? Have you seen the Nanos where the battery swells and breaks the screen?
Oh, all the time.
my
I see those all the
God.
time.
Yeah,
Have you
it's
seen?
horrible.
Have you seen the Nanos with a video camera? Those were all.
I had one of those
the
too, the
coolest
long
screen.
ones.
I
I remember that one.
I literally
Oh,
have.
that's a shuffle, right?
Oh no, this is the
It's a
sixth
oh no,
gen
of course.
Nano.
That's right. That's like
It's But the thing is, like, I
It's got
got
the little
this. I
clip
got
on the
this-
back.
yeah.
Yep, I got this for like $4 at the thrift store. The problem is it doesn't hold a charge.
Damn.
So I mean, you got to replace the battery, and there's no way to fucking replace the. Are you kidding me? That ain't happening.
The
It's an
Nano,
Apple Watch prototype.
the
Yeah.
the iPod Touch that I ended up getting. I had a friend who his family was split between where we lived in Michigan and his dad in Louisiana, and he would like go back and forth, and he was like moving from Michigan to Louisiana for like the foreseeable future or whatever, and he was like, I have this extra iPod Touch, do you want it? And I was like, yeah, this is too good to be true. And like I've had a lot of friends who kind of like dupe you on stuff. Well, they'll be like, here's free stuff, oh, I need that back. And I always hate, for some reason that's happened to me a bunch, where people are just kind of like, you know what, I gave you that, my mom said not to give it to you, like back when you were way younger. But this was like in high school, and I knew he was moving, so he gave me that, and I was like, I swear to God, if this is some weird dupe. And he literally texted me like a day later, like, oh, I need that back. And I knew he was like leaving the next day, and I just never responded. And I kept, that was the one, I just was like, fuck no, dude.
Okay, a similar story. Friend of mine gave me his PSP,
Nice.
and this is like in 2006 when it was still pretty like fresh, like because it came out
Yeah.
like 2 years before. Like they were still putting out new games at the time. And I'm like, don't look a gift horse in the mouth. I mean, take that and run. I mean,
I bought my friend's PSP because we were trying to play a certain game on it. It was Kingdom Hearts, only on PSP. And so my group of friends, we all wanted to, I was like, I'll buy it from this guy, and then we'll all play the game and we'll pass to the next one. It'll be like $50. And the first week I got it, I was playing it, and then it like fell off a table and like shattered. And I tried to repair it, but it never, like, the disk drive got
Ouch.
messed up, and like the shoulder buttons and everything. I'm sure if I was better, I could have fixed it. But I just remember literally having somebody else bought or borrowed one from their cousin, and I also had the game, and so they all passed around the game. And I still remember like never being able to play the game that I bought because I broke my PSP. I was like, but can I borrow the one that we all borrowed? And they're like, oh, I already gave it back. And I'm like, but I bought the game and I didn't even get to play it.
They're just trying to say that they didn't want you to break theirs too. Maybe
I know, it was so stupid. I was so mad when that broke because it was like a week after.
going back to iPods for a second, I wanted to show off a couple of recent finds. This past week, I went to an arts and crafts place that like took donations. I got a bunch of VHS tapes for like nothing, and I also got a iPod Classic 80 gigs working. Battery doesn't hold too much of a charge, but it does hold a charge. And it's literally filled to the brim with
Awesome.
music. And actually, this person's got fucking taste. There's like girl talk out here, Daft Punk,
Oh,
Gorillaz,
Nice.
Gil Scott Heron, Ghostface Killer. Frank Zappa. He's got some
Frank
fucking good
FC,
Eminem. Yeah, Dr. Dre.
Eminem.
Eminem.
DJ Shadow. It's got some fucking good stuff on here. Like,
Nice.
whoever had this before, I got this for $1.
Wow.
$1. That
I
thing's
would
like,
never find that.
It is fucking like beat. Like it's gross looking.
Well,
Ugh.
you can buy a new like shell for it.
True. I mean, I could. But the other thing I wanted to show is a couple weeks ago, I picked up a sealed, brand new 4th gen iPod
God.
Touch. I think I paid $25 for it.
Jesus.
So I mean, I'm telling you, the finds are out there. You just have to look. You have to be in the right place at the
Just
right
move
time.
to Pittsburgh.
I think that's it. I think that's it.
Here's the thing. Pittsburgh is not. This city is not. It's not like a. It's okay. You live in near Minneapolis, right?
Yeah, I'm in Minneapolis. Yeah.
You're in Minneapolis. Yeah, that's like a tier A city. Or okay, like
For what?
tier A. Well, no, I mean like tier A city is like a big city. People.
The people
Like-
from LA and New York would suggest.
Yeah, I'm like-
Okay. What's the tier B city then?
Tier A compared to
Okay.
Detroit. Yeah.
And then you got like Pittsburgh, which is more like a tier C.
All right, get out the tier list. Let's rank cities.
Thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's A
Well,
tier.
no, but I mean, as far as like the type of people who are like the thing is,
What do you
aren't
mean
there
type of
like
people?
a lot of like tech people in Minneapolis?
There are now. There weren't 10 years ago. That's been a relatively recent development, I think.
I think that is there has been quite a few more tech people in Pittsburgh, but the problem is, well, not really a problem, but the thing is, I think it's more people are on the other side of Pittsburgh than I'm on, because there's basically the downtown, and all the uppity hippie types are like over here, all like the old like family types are on the side I'm on, and so I shop on this side, so they don't know what they have. So when I get this for like $1, to be honest, like I got a ton of things. I got this. I got a Samsung Galaxy S4 for $1.
Oh, shit.
Got a one of those iTrip headphone things for like I think the iPod
An iDoser?
Photo. Like it's got the little nub on it for $1. I mean, everything there was like in this section was $1. And I picked
Jesus
up.
Christ.
And the thing is, like, what they had was like fill a bag for $10. And so I basically filled the bag with like 20 VHS tapes, a ton of CDs and DVDs. Most of them are like photo CDs or blanks that have like weird things written on it. So I'm like, ooh, maybe there's something interesting on here. So technically these were listed at $1, but I didn't pay $1 for them if everything, I paid $10 for the whole lot. So, I mean, I think the other thing is you have to look where people aren't looking. You got to go to that like really, like my friends rag on me for going to like the Goodwill like that have like just those troughs of fucking like clothes and like junk and digging through there because sometimes you find stuff. I mean, I bought I got a Roku, like a complete Roku
For $1.
No, for like 30 cents.
Yeah, Disco.
It was by the pound. It was by the pound. And it's no, I'm serious. Like I found that. I found like a cable to like old camcorder I have. I mean,
How much?
The whole thing, the camcorder cable and the Roku
5
was like 30
cents.
cents.
Okay.
I'll pay you 40 right now. Right now.
Hey,
Great Depression negotiation.
I'll take 40. But I mean that's the thing. I think I think unlike a lot of other people, I'm willing to get down and dirty, and also I don't think there's a lot of people who are looking for the same stuff I'm looking for out here. Fortunately, and I think there's just a bunch of people just trying to get rid of stuff because they see this beat up fucking like there's a dent on the back of this fucking thing, and they're like, oh, this isn't worth anything, The one problem with this though is the headphone jack only like works in the one ear. I tried cleaning out with some cleaner, but nothing seemed to work. It'd have to be replaced. I'm assuming.
So
Like something like contact is like fucked up.
The last you can the last thing then to wrap this up, and it's based off of what you just said, and this goes for both of you or anyone. You said they just think it's worth nothing and throw it away. What is it worth? Because you bought it, and what are you gonna do with it? Show it off, and then what?
exactly.
Like,
insult him.
Why do you think people buy art? Why do you think people buy NFTs?
I mean, is that? I'm on. I mean, I know I'm being funny about it, but
Do
like,
people even buy NFTs? I mean, I just right-click save them. So I don't-
I mean, like this. Like I looked on eBay. I think the lowest listing for a sealed one of these going right now is about $100, or like $80 to $100. So I might keep this for a couple more years. I mean, like I don't know who's really clamoring for one of these right now. Maybe when they discontinue the iPod Touch, like the current one, is when I'll list this up there because I have a flow of people coming in.
Does
Who want to
iTunes even
relive the
work
glory
with it?
days.
Does iTunes even work with it anymore?
Yeah,
iTunes still works with the first iPod,
yeah.
That's true.
like the very first one.
I
Yeah,
remember
it's
Nobody
crazy.
wants to use iTunes.
I remember when they kept telling me that iTunes was going to stop updating, and I don't know why they keep popping up saying I have an update ready.
That was a fucking good thing.
And I never hit yes. I don't use iTunes.
And that's why I switched to Zune.
Oh, dude!
Oh, no.
I was gonna say we can't talk iPod without talking about Zune, baby.
And I really want to
Yes,
get my
we
stack.
can.
But all right.
We have the same Zune, the 30 gig run, right?
I've got the same one, brown. Love it. I've got the leather case with it too.
The ugliest color, but I love it.
You know what? The cool thing about it is it has that really thin layer of like green tint to that. I'm sorry. It's like it legitimately is a cool design, and I think people were just fucking up their ass because iPad, 100 songs in your pocket. Shut the fuck up. Zune was better than iPod in almost every single way except for market share.
It's so funny how you're talking about the cool like color thing, and it's brown and green.
No, you got to think about this in the context of like 2008.
Yeah, back when those colors were cool.
No. I mean, the thing is, like, it's funny. I look back at some of the marketing material for Zune around that time, and the thing is, it makes sense to me, but also makes sense why it failed because it didn't say anything that didn't really say anything about the product itself because iPods already had the market at that point. I mean, if they brought out Zune like maybe 2 years earlier, it may have stood somewhat of a chance. But to be honest, like iPods, first come first serve. It's like
Yep.
They had the market.
I had to decide between a Zune HD and an iPod Touch, and I went with the iPod Touch.
Yeah, I have a Zune HD, and you know what? I love it to death. I keep it hooked up to my AV system thing. It's not silver, but
I was gonna say the whole system is brown and green.
It's more like my toilet right now.
Come on.
Transparent.
Transparent.
Oh my god. Let's Jesus. Why are we gonna end on that? Let's do plugs. We have anyone have anything
like
to
we
say?
said, everybody, we need you to stop. Get out of the stream. We're gonna start it over again. We're gonna from the top. Right.
John was worried I'd be too edgy.
I'm talking about poop. You say the well. I mean,
okay. Let's see. Let's do plugs. What? Why'd you laugh?
I'll go first.
Thank you.
Right over here.
Fuck you.
John Zobelli. You know me. You love me. I'm on TikTok.
I'm on the toilet.
Yeah, business casual this week. We had a new album by Bart Graft.
Oh yeah.
Really good. Synth poppy. Pretty sick. And last week we had a couple represses. Also, Dan Mason. Record's still available. Tape's still available. Check them out.
Go buy the Dan Mason vinyl.
Go buy
it. Dude. Supporting him would be great right now.
Yes, it would.
For real, though.
Oh my
it's
God,
a fantastic album, and supporting Dan would be a very, very nice thing to do.
I was thinking about album of the years, and I was like, probably that album. And I was like, that didn't even come out this year.
Yeah.
But it still is.
Close enough. It's still it's 2020. What are you talking about?
The fiscal year.
Yeah.
My album fiscal year.
The fiscal album of the fiscal year.
Randy, you got anything to plug?
Let's see. Stream Monday. Just whatever. Tuesdays now for the foreseeable future until we're done. Me and Indie Advent he's in the chat right now. We are watching through the show Pure Ownage, old internet web series about being a pro gamer from what year was it? 2004, 2005. We think it holds up.
I don't.
Was it on
does-
G4? Oh,
no,
wait,
it was
you
on
said
the internet. It was hosted
right,
on their
you
own
said it.
website.
Okay.
Yeah. We do that Tuesdays. I just had a single drop. Drenched is out on all
Dude.
platforms.
Drenched.
Disco likes it. It's the first time he's ever been excited about something I've made.
I'm soaking, over here,
Okay. Whoa!
Toilet.
Shut up!
Transparent.
What else? Anything cool? I think that's it for me for right now. Disco?
Oh, don't forget to go to lttstore.com.
No.
WDSK 97.9, home of funkiest in disco and news, tomorrow 8 p.m. Eastern on my Twitch.
Always
Be
a
there.
good time. And of course, this does not compute. The man of the hour. What can
So
we
yeah, I
expect?
don't stream at all, so don't bother trying to find me there. YouTube channel, This Is Not Compute. Twitter, Instagram. I make stupid videos about old crap that no one cares about. Sometimes they're fun, sometimes they suck. Kind of a side plug. Fellow YouTuber, Retail Archaeology. He's doing a VHS release. It's pretty slick through
Hey.
Pacific
That's what
Plaza.
they were about to say Pacific Plaza.
And maybe I kind of have a thing like it in the works.
Ooh.
Oh.
Maybe I do.
Hey,
so,
we're gonna get the drop the first, Colin record,
well,
This
we'll
this
see.
is not vaporwave, maybe.
Well, it may very well have a wave soundtrack to it.
Yo.
We'll have to
You
see.
will hear sound waves, at least.
Oh.
You'll hear some
Yeah.
sound waves, and it may or may not be a format that's pertinent to the vaporwave scene as we know it. So
Blu-ray.
It's a collection of all the This Does Not Compute videos where it features the 3D Blast song cassette or he's wearing one of my shirts.
comes in 6 installments of 300 VHS tapes each.
All
Get the whole
right.
collection.
We
It's
got-
like the Encyclopedia Britannica. It fills up an entire shelf. No, for real.
Oh,
It's,
now that be a product. No one's done
That-
that yet.
that would that would be interesting. But yeah, we'll see pretty soon. I'll have more to say about it.
Sounds exciting.
Thank
Let's
you so much for being here.
thumbnail this out. We got to wave for the thumb or for the
my
for the
weird for the
gift.
camera.
Bye.
Yay!
Goodbye.